What's going on, YouTube world and YouTube tribe? Welcome back to LilBigMan Gaming, bringing you know what that means, right? That review for Monday Night Raw. So we got Drew McIntyre and Big E opening up the night with their big promo, which was labeled a face-to-face. Drew comes out first and he starts off by saying it seems fitting that the Scottish Warrior will be introducing, kicking off Monday Night Raw in the home of the Warriors, and that I'm trying to see where did he go. He welcomes everybody to Monday Night Raw. Then he started promoting Crown Jewel, all the matches leading up to his match, and saying that the reason why everybody's wow, the sun just really came out. Saying that the reason why everybody's going to be talking about his match with Big E at Crown Jewel is because he will be once again the new WWE champion, and basically planning on taking the WWE championship with him to SmackDown. Big E would come out and basically make a colorful and really oddly weird sexual joke, basically about tasting. And he basically was saying like how he tasted the sweet nectar of being what comes with being WWE champion, and he said he let that nectar like drip down his chin and face and into his chest, in between his chest and nipples and all that type of stuff. I was like, whoa, okay. So and then it was like a backstage promo between the two afterward, like that makes sense. That makes more sense once I complete. I get back to that because it makes more sense as I tell you what happened in the promo first. Okay, this backstage promo piggybacks off of this this promo here in the ring. But Big E gets serious and tells Drew McIntyre that he will never take the WWE Championship away from him, and that that there's a train coming, and you either get on board or stay on the track and get ran over. Drew tells Big E that he's been waiting for months to get this opportunity again at the WWE Championship, and he's not gonna let it slip through his fingers, and that he will win the WWE Championship at Crown Jewel. It's not nothing he could do about it. Pretty sure he used a cuss word, but it is what it is. YouTube can't, YouTube doesn't want you to cuss. The Usos will come out, basically stirring the pot, telling them, making fun of who they gonna put their bets on, and then basically they're doing some early promotion for Survivor Series, basically saying how if Big E wins and keeps the title here on Raw, then he'll have to deal with Roman Reigns at Survivor Series, and they're gonna give him a piece of what the Usos will be giving the New Day by that point. Have been given the New Day by that point. But they taunt Drew McIntyre saying if he's able to win the title and bring it with him to SmackDown when he comes to SmackDown, then Roman Reigns will be looking to go after Drew and basically add the WWE Championship to his collection of championships by being both the Universal and WWE Champion. But then Big E basically tells him, hey, you can't come out here and run your mouths. It looked like he was getting ready to challenge the Usos, but then he said something about speaking for himself and Drew McIntyre. But Drew was like, "You certainly cannot speak for Drew McIntyre," and that caused a little argument to where the Usos would basically make the challenge, which would be your main event of Drew McIntyre and Big E versus the Usos. We will get our first match of the night, which is Xavier Woods versus Ricochet. This will be the first round of the Raw side of the King of the Ring tournament. This was a good match. This was a good outing for Ricochet and Xavier. Like, I enjoyed watching them in this match. It wasn't a bad match. It was a decent, good match as far as opening the show where a match goes, or at least the first match of the night goes. This was a great way to set just a little bit. Not it didn't do it all the way, but it did kind of sort of set the tone for for Monday Night Raw and what type of show we would be getting. But I think Big E and them proved that, because I think there was an article it was like last week, that was explained that the new thing that's going to be for Raw and NXT 2.0. I just like to throw this. I want to throw this in there for why NXT and Raw are getting more edgier and using a little bit more cuss words than SmackDown will be, because that article said that before Raw and NXT 2.0, they'll be using using a little bit more dirty jokes, a little bit more cussing, and they want to turn the women's attire just a little bit more sexy for both shows. But SmackDown will be doing the same thing, but at a limited capacity thanks to Fox's standards. So yeah, that's the whole point of the dirty jokes. Like I said, there was a backstage segment with Big E and Drew McIntyre where Big E basically was getting on the same page, but Big E used that he used that joke he made about the sweet nectar. He was like, "Yeah, I see your mouth and ears start percolating when he said, when I said about the sweet nectar dripping down my chest and in between my chest and the nipples and all that." He said, "You're a freak, man. You're a freak. You're a freak." You know, I was like, what? But it was a cool little backstage segment that saw them get on the same page, but that didn't continue throughout the night, as we'll get to in a bit. But yeah, Xavier Woods versus Ricochet was a good first match, and Xavier won to move on to the next round. He will face the winner next week of Kofi Kingston and Jinder Mahal. Mustafa Ali and Mansoor was up next with a tag team match against Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin. That match was okay, but the main story was that after Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin basically got the win, but what resulted was Mansoor basically turned on. Not Mansoor, but Mustafa Ali turned on Mansoor, was basically ended the tag team of Mustafa Ali and Mansoor, and which would lead to a backstage segment where they would interview Mansoor about what happened, and he was trying to tell him what he think was happening, and how he was just going to talk to Ali to try to calm him down and reconsider. But Ali would overhear it and basically tell Mansoor that he was nothing, he was a loser, and Mansoor was like, yeah, get it all out, man, get it all out. And he basically was degrading Mansoor, telling him that he was his only lifeline, but he was pathetic and not worth it. And then Mansoor still, like, after Mustafa Ali left, after saying all that, he still tried to reassure that he was going to talk to Mustafa, but Mustafa would return and beat him up. And once again, we're affirming that he was a loser. I do have a Raw draft update. Excuse me if some of these names I already mentioned, but some of these names I know I didn't mention. So Zelina Vega, it was revealed that Zelina Vega was drafted, even though she wasn't in the initial draft. She was drafted to Raw. Doudrop was drafted to Raw, which means she just stays on Raw because she was already a Raw superstar. Nia Jax was drafted to Raw, which means since she was already a Raw superstar, she just stays on Raw. Drake Maverick was another call up from NXT. He was drafted to Raw. Apollo Crews and the Commander Aziz were drafted from SmackDown to Raw, along with Otis and Chad Gable. They was also drafted from SmackDown to Raw, and John Morrison was drafted to Raw, which saw him stay, which actually means he stays on Raw. Now, with that out the way, we get to the next match, which was Shayna Baszler versus Dana Brooke. This will be the first round of the Queen's Crown tournament, and the story, I guess you could say the story going into this was Dana Brooke having a beef with Corey Graves, because Corey Graves last week basically like was like harsh to Dana Brooke. Like he basically was on commentary like basically almost like it was almost to the point like he was dogging her. But like it didn't get there, but he was basically like it did get there. 'Cause he was basically telling her that she need to cut her losses, and that because he just doesn't believe that she could put it together because she had ample time but hasn't. So piggybacking off of that, Dana Brooke here they did allow her to have a better showing by making her look a little bit better in this match. And which was caused Corey Graves when he was going on and on about her being bad, not being able to put together. This time, he would get interrupted by some good offense from Dana Brooke, which makes him question whether, what makes him rethink his what he was saying, because now she is putting something together. But in the end, Shayna Baszler would get the win. I think she even tried to attack Dana Brooke, but Dana Brooke was already on the outside while she was still on the inside, so she couldn't really get Dana Brooke back into the ring. So she just was like, instead of going like forcing her back into the ring to beat her up, she's like, all right, whatever, then just go, then just go. It was like that was weird, but okay. We would get Matt Riddle versus Otis. We learned this from earlier in the night. It was like a fun little backstage moment with Randy Orton. Riddle thinking Randy had a plan. He was stalling the first little minutes of the match until Randy came out and executed the plan. But realizing that Randy Orton was telling the truth about that not actually being the plan, they actually started wrestling, to which he got demolished. And Riddle got demolished by Omos, and thus the match was over. But yeah, your winner was Omos. We would get a Bobby Lashley promo. Basically, he explaining why he offered the no hold bars match for him and Goldberg, saying that a person who runs around foaming at the mall talking about killing somebody and beat somebody up because of a misunderstanding. He was saying he wanted to basically put an end to Goldberg, and that he also talked about something about how people is brushing aside that he's talking about killing him, but that it's okay. And that at Crown Jewel, he said the whole purpose was to end Goldberg, because he wants to end Goldberg not just for the whole, their whole beef, but for the fact that he doesn't want to see Goldberg just keep coming back to beat up somebody and then leave, and to only come back and do it again. So he said he wants to use this opportunity to finally end Goldberg once and for all, and that he told Goldberg, you can't beat the Almighty, you can't. He said you can't beat the Almighty. He said something else, in that you can't kill, and you also can't kill the Almighty. But yeah, that his plans is to end Goldberg at the end. Goldberg's career. We got Jeff Hardy versus Austin Theory. This was an okay match. This was a great outing for Austin Theory. Though I would prefer that the 24/7 shenanigans would have happened after the match instead of before. I don't understand why they had it during the match. But it was weird. It almost caused Austin Theory to lose. But Jeff Hardy would end up taking advantage, trying to hit him with the twist of fate, and went to the top for the swanton. But Austin Theory was able to move out the way and roll up, pin Jeff Hardy to get the victory. Was that okay. So then our next match will be the last match of the first round, the last ever match of the first round of the King of the Ring tournament, which saw Kofi Kingston versus Jinder Mahal. The one thing I noticed too about this was that the participants in these tournaments were shorter. Because now that I think about the old ones, there was always it was a huge list of people before you got to the finals. But I understand why they did it that way, because the final takes place in Crown Jewel. Crown Jewel is fast approaching, so you have to make the tournament bracket a little bit shorter than it normally is. It normally features a lot more first round matches than it did, But yeah, this match was fairly good. A good match between two former WWE champions. Uh, but it was just odd. This finish was odd because I didn't think Jinder Mahal was going to win. I mean, I knew he was going to win, but I didn't think he was going to win clean. I should say that was what I didn't think was going to happen. I didn't think he was going to win clean, and he won clean. Like, yeah, Veer and Shanky did get involved, but they wasn't like, basically it wasn't to the point where it dictated the outcome of the match. It actually didn't really. They didn't interfere enough to dictate the outcome. Therefore, he still beat Kofi clean, and he will face Xavier Woods next week. We would get the promoted tag team match between Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch and Charlotte. This match basically just erupted into a brawl right off the get-go because when they were trying to start the tag team match, Sasha and Becky, not Sasha and Becky, but Sasha and Bianca could not get on the same page about who was going to start what. And this led to them aggressively moving each other out the way. Like, they were just like, at first it started off small, like, yeah, no, I'll start, you go on the outside. Like, it was just like a little push. And then the little push became to an aggressive push. And then it became to like a super aggressive push and pulling to the point where they start, I think they was getting ready to fight, but Becky would jump Bianca, which like made Bianca like go into Sasha, and they would get ready to brawl. They start brawling, which also knocked Charlotte off the ring, and which angered her, which allowed Sasha to get back in the ring and start joining the brawl. Charlotte joined into the brawl, but then Charlotte and both Becky and Charlotte would clear house, only for Becky to turn around and get big booted by Charlotte. This would cause Charlotte, once Becky rolled out the ring, Charlotte, stood tall, but then she would jump out the ring to go beat up on Becky, which everybody started brawling again. The referee tried to break it up, but Adam Pearce and them said, you know what, we're not having this. We're going to restart this match because you guys had the opportunity to show what the four top women could do when they all in the match together, and we're going to get that. And they basically restarted the match, but instead of what I thought they was going to do is restart it as a fatal four-way, they really restarted it as a tag team match, which didn't go well because then, once again, eventually another brawl broke out and caused the match to end in a no contest. And I think that was like the brawl between Sasha. It was either between Sasha and Bianca, or it was Bianca and Becky. Basically, they brawled on the outside too much and got counted out, which turned into a brawl again when every competitor involved. So I think this time Becky Lynch was the one who stood tall at the end of the brawl this time around. When we get the next match of Doudrop versus Natalya, this will be the last match of the first round for the Queens tournament. Doudrop and Natalya had a pretty good match. They played off of each other's strengths very well. I honestly can say I didn't have a problem with this match. It fit the characters. They played off each other, but in the end, Doudrop would get the win to advance to the semifinals, where she would face Shayna Baszler next week on Raw. You could tell this was going to be. You could tell she was going to win because they kind of built this up from last week when Shayna was trying to beat up Dana Brooke after the match, and then Doudrop would get involved. So you kind of realized Doudrop was, when you heard she was we heard both her and Shayna was in the tournament. Yeah, it was kind of obvious that they was going to put them two together to face each other next week. The main event saw Drew McIntyre and Big E versus the Usos. The match was good in itself. it went just like you thought it would. The Usos, they know how to put on a good tag team match. Drew and McIntyre did their thing. But this would end. This match would end via count out because Biggie and Drew McIntyre basically at doing a moment in the match, they got off the page. They got off page because Biggie paid Drew back for, I think, a match they had last week where they was in the tag team match, and this was like basically a payback. What Biggie did was payback to Drew for last week. This will eventually lead to Drew accidentally getting bumped off the apron, and it looked like it was when he took that bump. He really took a bump because somebody really did hit Drew McIntyre, and it caused him to get busted. They get like a lump slash a swollen lump slash cut. Well, basically was a cut that basically swelled up into a lump, like right above his. I want to say it was either his. I think it was his right eye. Well, not right eye, but right like up above his right eye on the forehead. He had like this big bump slash cut. So he was really like busted open, and they even used that the big. Cause then he would start arguing with Big E. He was like, "Hey man, what are you doing?" Because this is where the brawl starts. Because the Big E was getting ready to pin, I think Jay or Jimmy, and Drew would drag Big E out the ring to complain about what just happened. You're just busting me open. And he was like, that was an accident, man. When you lost your mind, he was trying to tell him that was an accident, fool. I didn't do that on purpose. And but it got too much out of hand. They started fighting each other, and that will result in the count out victory for the Usos, giving the Usos the win. But for a moment, the Usos would join the fight. Was look like the Usos was going to end. It made it look like the Usos was going to end the night with them beating up Drew McIntyre and Big E, and to stand tall. But it got reversed, and Big E and Drew ended up standing tall over the Usos. But then Big E would turn around and get Claymore kicked by Drew McIntyre, which would see Drew walk up the stage and ramp and end the show, looking at Big E, telling Big E, "Now you know." Overall, this match was a good match. I would have hoped for the victory, then the count. Instead of the count out, just the victory, then the brawl. But it is what it was. It wasn't a bad way to. It wasn't a bad one, so I could forgive it because the brawl was kind of good. But overall, I would give this episode of Monday Night Raw 8 big ups. It wasn't a perfect 10, but it was a solid 8 show. I did enjoy the little Chucky little promo they had because today is the series premiere of the Chucky TV series. If you don't know, just briefly, that's the Chucky TV series. Is a continuation of the original Chucky movies, which sees the return of the original Chucky voice actor and all that type of good stuff. But yeah, that's all I got. If you enjoyed this video, then hit this button right there in the upper right corner for all of my reviews. And if you enjoyed this video so much and you want to support the channel, then hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, become part of the tribe, like so many people has done so many times before, and hit that notification button so you don't miss when I drop videos, especially those Chucky TV promos. I said promos. Reviews. Also hit any one of these videos with more of my amazing content, and just to throw some shameless plugging out there so that somebody want to get me as a sponsor. Make sure you go to USA Network, 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Pacific time for that Chucky TV series debut tonight on Sci-Fi. Peace.